that she had a baby with a woman. Oh, I didn't come in for this. They putting it everywhere.
That you performed for Trump. That doesn't make sense to me. And you're afraid of a gay family being loving and taking care of a child? Mind you, this is the photo that he's afraid of. Mind you, he was also on the L Word. How's he going to explain that to his grandkids? That's a show about lesbians.
As a parent, you should also explain to your children that other things exist in the world outside of what you have deemed normal in your own home.
Snoop Dogg, the same man who once paraded women on leashes and dog collars, bragged about being a pimp, directed lesbian scenes in Korn's projects, and even starred in multiple episodes of The L Word, is now out here complaining that seeing a lesbian couple on screen is somehow a bad influence on his kids. You really can't make this stuff up. If hypocrisy were an Olympic sport, Snoop would be taking home the gold without even trying. This is a man who built part of his brand profiting off queer narratives, yet suddenly believes a cartoon couple is going to turn his kids gay, trans, or whatever nonsense excuse he wants to throw out there. And let's not forget, this is the same guy who, back in 2017, called anyone performing for Trump an Uncle Tom. Fast forward to 2025, and he's the one on stage performing for Trump. The double standards couldn't be louder if they tried.
So ain't nobody gonna perform for Donald Trump, huh? Which one of you jigaboo ass gonna be the first one to do it? I'm waiting. I'm gonna roast the out one of you Uncle Tom ass for doing it. Which one of you gonna do it first? I was the one that performs for himself.
He performed at the Crypto Ball as part of inauguration weekend for Donald J.
Snoop Dogg is once again at the center of controversy after claiming he's scared of so-called LGBTQ propaganda in kids' cartoons. Some fans are rushing to defend him, arguing that queer representation is a form of indoctrination. But plenty of others are calling out the hypocrisy, pointing out that Snoop built his career glorifying gangs, crime, drugs, and the exploitation of women. Yet somehow he's suddenly terrified of a children's movie showing a lesbian couple for less than 10 seconds. And it's not just online critics dragging him. Public figures have chimed in too, including Marlon Wayans, who said this might be the dumbest thing he's ever heard Snoop say. For those out of the loop, here's the context. Snoop stirred backlash after talking about the 2022 Disney film Lightyear on the It's Giving podcast. He explained that he watched the movie with his grandson, who asked about the two moms raising a child. Snoop admitted he had no idea how to answer, and went on to claim he's now too scared to even go to the movies, worried he might see something else he won't be able to explain to his kids.
The rapper explaining his shock at seeing lesbian parents depicted on screen. The scene from the 2022 film marked Disney's first same-sex kiss.
Well, my grandson in the middle of the movie like, Papa Snoop, how she have a baby with a woman? She a woman. Oh, I didn't come in for this. Just came to watch the goddamn movie. Hey, man, watch the movie. So it's like, I'm scared to go to the movies now. Like, y'all throwing me in the middle of shit.
Yeah.
They are going to ask, I don't have the answer.
What'd you tell them?
Watch the movie.
The internet wasted no time tearing into Snoop Dogg after his remarks about so-called LGBTQ propaganda in kids' movies. One viral post summed it up perfectly. So instead of educating yourself and giving your child a proper answer, you just sit there clueless and complain. Another added, this feels exactly like when old white folks got mad about seeing black and brown people in commercials. The irony was just too hard to ignore. Plenty of people also pointed out how hypocritical his stance is. After all, Snoop has no issue streaming violent gameplay like GTA and Call of Duty with non-stop shooting and bloodshed, while his grandson probably sits right there watching. But apparently, what he does have a problem with is a same-sex couple showing up for a few seconds in a Disney film. What's confusing to many fans is that Snoop hasn't always carried this kind of attitude. In fact, he once came off as a supporter of LGBTQ rights. Back in 2013, he told HuffPost that he was in favor of same-sex marriage. At the time, he said, "People can do what they want and as they please. Satisfy yourself accordingly. I don't have issues with anybody. I live for me, and I live my life doing what I do. Everyone should have the right to do whatever they want to do." And that wasn't the only time he appeared supportive. In 2004, Snoop even acted in the lesbian TV drama The L Word. His character, Slim Daddy, literally had a whole storyline about going from being nervous and uninformed about lesbians to becoming a full-on ally. That was the arc. Which makes it even more bizarre that he's now saying he can't explain to his grandson how two women could raise a child, when the straightforward answer would simply be adoption. Fans were quick to highlight another contradiction. Snoop is close with Madonna, who famously adopted a black child. So how exactly would he explain to his grandson how a white woman and her husband have a black baby? If adoption works there, why is it suddenly impossible to explain when it comes to two women in a movie? Still, it's not like everyone is dragging him. Some people do agree with his comments, saying he makes a valid point about what children should or shouldn't be exposed to. One person wrote, "There's nothing wrong with wanting to protect kids from adult topics. That's just being a parent." Another added, "Snoop speaks for millions of parents who are tired of Disney pushing this agenda and ruining kids' films." But for critics, the main issue isn't representation, it's Snoop's selective outrage. Disney has been slipping questionable material into their movies for generations. Racism, violence, colonial undertones, offensive stereotypes, you name it. Yet somehow, a 2-second kiss between two women is what sets him off. If he had said he was against all romance in kids' movies, that would at least be consistent. But the truth is, Disney films have always centered on stray couples. Think about Prince Charming kissing Snow White without her consent, or Aladdin lying to Jasmine to win her love. That's why so many people are calling Snoop's outrage performative. Marlon Wayans was one of the loudest critics, openly calling Snoop out for his double standards. "There ain't no Hollywood agenda to turn kids gay. That's the dumbest dish I've ever heard," he said. "Disney characters lie, cheat, steal, kill, poison, you name it. And nobody ever says it's an agenda to make kids terrible people. I grew up watching Snow White, and I've never handed anyone a poison apple. But the second a gay character shows up, suddenly it's an agenda." LGBTQ advocates also weighed in. A spokesperson for the LGBT Foundation said in a statement, "Seeing LGBTQ plus people represented on screen matters. It helps people feel visible." Comments like Snoop's, especially from high-profile celebrities, reinforce stigma and undue progress that has taken years to achieve. Even Lightyear's writer Lauren Gunderson responded. In a Threads post, she explained, "When we wrote early drafts, a key character needed a partner, and it just felt natural to write she instead of he. That small detail carries a huge representational weight. I was thrilled it stayed in the film. I'm proud of it to infinity. Love is love." And finally, TSM Madison didn't hold back when she spoke to TMZ Live. She bluntly called Snoop a hypocrite, reminding everyone that the things he's put in his music videos over the years are far worse than two cartoon characters sharing a quick kiss.
Seconds.
Snoop Dogg has historically been an advocate against censoring, and his fame is based off expression. So my question is, Snoop, you have music videos with women dancing and kissing other women, dancing naked. So why is displaying lesbian behavior in your music videos appropriate, and you are afraid to answer the questions from your grandchildren?
TMZ tried to defend Snoop, pointing out that his music videos were never created for kids. But T.S. Madison wasn't buying it. She clapped back, saying, "Come on now, let's not act like kids don't watch those videos." And the kicker, Snoop never once said he stopped his grandson from watching his own content, which is exactly why people are still calling him a hypocrite.
So wait a minute, there's an answer to that, which is that the videos that he does for his music videos for adults, they're not like
I think he would say that those music videos aren't for kids.
I know that would be the setting and that would be the answer, but as a person who understands how kids work, kids see everything. They see music videos, they hear lyrics, they hear these things.
But T.S., that's where parenting comes in, right? I mean, you're right, kids, if you just let them, they can see everything, but...
And I'm glad you said that's where parenting comes in. Because as a parent, you should also explain to your children that other things exist in the world outside of what you have deemed normal in your own home.
Judging by the online backlash, the real issue for most people isn't Disney or gay characters in cartoons. It's Snoop himself. Because even if he might have raised a valid concern, he's the last person who should be delivering that message. This is the same man who played a role in helping Trump's second term. For years, he clowned Trump, called him a racist, trashed black Trump supporters, and labeled them coons and Uncle Toms. Yet later, Snoop was seen shaking hands with Trump at the White House, basically helping to rehabilitate the same man he once swore was toxic to the culture. That's not just a contradiction, it's exactly how Trump kept pulling legitimacy from hip-hop and black celebrity influence. So now, when Snoop tries to position himself as some moral authority about Disney movies, people aren't buying it. If you actively helped elevate the very figure you once demonized, you don't get to lecture the public about what's corrupting the kids. At the same time, this is one of those polarizing debates where nobody's expected to fully agree. What matters most is that the conversation is happening. So, let's open it up. Do you think Snoop actually has a point about LGBTQ representation in children's films, or is this just him picking a fight because it makes him uncomfortable? Do you consider Snoop a credible voice on this subject, given all his contradictions? And on a bigger level, should Disney even be the first place where kids encounter queer representation, or should that responsibility belong somewhere else? Drop your thoughts down in the comments, and as always, I'll see you in the next video.